On satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Making headlines first at 9, failing health. Imprisoned Lalit Veeratunga and Anusha Palpita admitted to prison's hospital today. Joint opposition looks into their welfare. Special statement. Prime Minister informs progress of the Central Expressway to the House as he responds to allegations of high expenditure. No discussion. Minister John Amaratunga says the government will not legalize abortion and LGBTQ rights.
Doctors like this type of thing to be approved and legalized and recognized. But it doesn't mean the government will approve it.
And in international headlines, double trouble. Hurricane Irma to make landfall in Florida as millions evacuate from its path of destruction. Good evening to our viewers across Sri Lanka and thank you for being here with us tonight. I am Mahesh Johnny. Our First at 9 coverage tonight begins with a look at the devastation caused by the inclement weather. As the prevalent inclement weather is expected to weaken over the course of next 24 hours, the National Building Research Organisation issued landslide warnings to districts of Ratnapura, Kalutara, Galle, Kergalle and Nuwara today. Meanwhile, floods were experienced in several areas of the island brought on by the heavy rains last night.
An earth slip occurred in the Ihala Biangwala area in Kadwata. A house located in the area was affected. Low-lying areas in Millania, Madurawala and the Bulat Sinhala Divisional Secretariat were inundated owing to Kaluganga overflowing. Meanwhile, a landslide occurred close to a building construction site of the Katugahena Divisional Hospital in Matugama today. Meanwhile, 20 persons were relocated to a relief camp as 5 line houses in the Agarapatane area in Central Hills sank due to heavy rains yesterday. The Disaster Management Unit in Kirindawala issued landslide warnings to 35 houses in the Nikalagalawath area in Karandana following a landslide encompassing an acre of land close to the location. Although the flood situation in the Ratnapura district is on the slide, several areas were still underwater. Kiriyalla and Ayagama divisional secretariats were 2 such locations. Haraniyawaka and Ayagama roads in Ratnapura were submerged under 11 feet of water. However, 100 houses in the Ratnapura district are still inundated.
President's Counsel Anuja Premaratne, representing Arjun Aloysius, stated at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing to the controversial bond issuance that on Monday he hopes to submit an objection over his client testifying before the Commission. Meanwhile, Arjun Aloysius was summoned to the Commission to give a statement to the CID office attached to the Commission today as well.
Arjun Aloysius was summoned before the Commission of Inquiry for a second day today. Accordingly, he arrived at the Commission at around 9 in the morning and he was seen being taken to the CID office attached to the Commission following a security checkup never seen done to any of the witnesses. He was also informed to arrive at the Commission over the weekend to continue giving statements. Meanwhile, during today's proceedings, President's Counsel Anuja Premaratne, representing Arjun Aloysius, said President's Counsel Gamini Marapana will lead evidence when his client testifies before the Commission. Furthermore, the Chairman of the Commission, Justice K.T. Chitrasiri, informed the attorneys representing Arjun Aloysius to prepare their client to testify before the Commission under oath as soon as the Commission concludes the testimony of CEO of Perpetual Treasuries Kasun Palisena. President's Counsel Anuja Premaratne then stated he hopes to make a submission to the Commission opposing Arjun Aloysius being brought before the Commission to testify on Monday. The members of the Commission warned President's Counsel Anuja Premaratne to be careful when doing so.
In one of our headline stories, former President Secretary Lalit Veeratunga and former Director General of the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission Anusha Palpita were today admitted to the prison hospital reportedly due to illness at around 11 a.m. They were sentenced to 3 years rigorous imprisonment yesterday over misappropriating state finances to distribute silk clothes during the 2015 presidential election campaign.
A number of parliamentarians representing the joint opposition today called on former President Secretary Lalit Weeratunga and former Director General of the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission Anusha Palpita at the Velikada prison.
For the first time in our history, imprisonments have been made for implementing command of the President by the power vested on him by the Constitution. There are crimes like the bond issue that have astounded the public. Former Presidential Secretary Lalit Weeratunga, however, is a person who has never stolen a single cent during the course of his public service. We will not abandon him and we will appeal against the ruling.
Meanwhile, a number of opinions on the issue were also voiced elsewhere in the political arena.
As far as I know, Lalit Weeratunga is a true gentleman. He never admitted he was fulfilling orders from above. I wonder why things like this happen to good people. I was completely shocked by the ruling. However, I'd like to remind state officials that if you associate bad company, you will feel the effects. If honest officials like Lalit Weeratunga are jailed for 1.5 years, the officials linked to the bond scam and the politicians who protect them should be jailed for at least 15 years. President Maithripala has borrowed 5 billion rupees for flood relief. If 600 million rupees call for a 3-year jail term, what about 5 billion rupees? We welcome the punishment meted out over the corruption allegations. We, however, will not be hypnotized by this alone.
Well, former President Rajapakse says Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was surprised at the ruling given to his former secretary Lalit Weeratunga and former director of the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission Anusha Palpita. Addressing media in Kandy today, the former president revealed that he had a meeting with the Premier yesterday with this regard.
Former President Mahinda Rajapakse and several parliamentarians of the joint opposition met Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe at Parliament premises yesterday. Addressing media following a visit to the temple of the Sacred Tooth relic this morning, the former president touched on what was discussed at the meeting.
We mainly discussed the ban imposed on field officers from contesting elections and we requested the decision be reconsidered. How can a public servant pay 50 million? He too was surprised by that ruling. We asked the party leaders to discuss the matter and joined opposition to meet with the president. We included most of the relief given during my tenure back through amendments. The people are feeling the squeeze on a daily basis. Manufacturers don't get a fair price for their goods. The country is gradually getting poorer. In other local stories, President Maithripala calls for a collective program to ensure the security of children. The head of state says that all responsible parties should get together for a collective program to safeguard children from social abuse. The president made these remarks speaking at the inaugural ceremony of the national program Let's Protect Children held today at the Provincial Sports Complex in Kandy.
The program Let's Protect Children was implemented in line with the concept of the President to protect children and create an environment for their social security, ending various ill practices against involving children such as domestic violence, child abuse, use of children in crime and child labour are among the main objectives of this program. Legal and mental counselling and health education are also included in the program. The project is scheduled to be implemented within the next 3 years at provincial and district levels island-wide.
Mobile phones and computers were invented towards useful objectives, but today it supports many good and bad things. It is a very frequent scene seen in the young generation walking on the road and on railway tracks with earphones. You know how many lives we lost due to this sort of behavior. Mobile phones have become a root cause of suicides. I prohibited mobile phones at the cabinet meeting. The ministers too browse phone while I'm speaking. So no use of talking about the youngsters.
Meanwhile, the family of Constable N. Premadasa received a new house from President Maithripala Sirisena. A new house was built in Kandy for the family of the constable who died on duty while being attached to the Presidential Security Division. In the meantime, the president officially handed over the tusker named Pulatisi Raja, a gift from the government of Myanmar, to the Temple of the Sacred Tooth relic.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's take you straight to the Parliament. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe made a special statement to the House today on the third phase of the Central Expressway project. The third phase, which is to run from Puthuhara to Galagidara, will consist of 3 tunnels and 14 bridges. Prime Minister explained that the government is engaged in discussions with the Mitsubishi Bank of Tokyo regarding necessary loans for the project. He, however, said the two parties have not come to an agreement about the loan amount yet. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe revealed that the construction of the third phase will be conducted by the 2 Japanese corporations, namely Taisei and Fujita. Premier also responded to criticism leveled against the government for higher expenditure incurred with regard to this project. The first phase of the Central Expressway is undertaken by a Chinese firm. The second phase is constructed by a Sri Lankan construction firm for the first time. And the third phase will be done by the Japanese corporation of Taisei and Fujita. Then India has agreed to help us with the fourth phase. This expressway is rather international in nature. The Sri Lankan government was able to reduce the expenditure by 25,000 million rupees after discussion with the Taisei Corporation. Now that has become a problem, and they call me the thief for reducing this much of millions in expenditure.
Although you say this cost 134 billion rupees, the actual amount is 134.9 billion rupees, which means the cost is 135 billion rupees. It costs 4.1 million rupees to construct a metre of the expressway. Now, the previous regime was under much criticism for spending more than what's necessary because they used agents to find construction firms. The government's conduct is similar to that of the previous regime in this process. There should be a comprehensive debate on these kinds of large-scale projects before they commence.
We did call for tenders. The project is funded by Japan, so we can't have open tenders, and tenders were called only for Japanese firms. Fujita Corporation was nominated by the Japanese embassy and not by us. They are the ones funding this. Meanwhile, parliamentarian Douglas Devanandan made a proposal at Parliament on establishing a war memorial and dedicating a special day to commemorate those who lost their lives during the war. State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena accepted the proposal on behalf of the government.
Douglas Devanandan's proposal, we have absolutely no objection to it. I think it is absolutely vital that we commemorate every single person who died during the war. It's not for a particular race or community. Every single person was affected by this war. From the Ministry of Defence, I would like to say that we wholeheartedly support this motion. But however, we do have a few observations. The memorial should be erected at a suitable location, giving due consideration to the fact of accessibility by the public and security. Since most of the victims are from the districts of Mana, Vavuniya, Trincomalee and Batiklo, we feel the most suitable place would be Anuradhapura. A particular day, such as maybe the third Friday of the month or May in each year as the day of the commemoration, should be declared to avoid any disagreement about the date. The responsibility of management and maintenance of the memorial should be entrusted with an appropriate ministry or public entity such as the Ministry of Home Affairs or relevant district secretariat under the guidance of the Presidential Secretariat.
Minister of Christian Religious Affairs John Amaratunga today spoke on the government's stance on legalizing abortion and LGBTQ rights. Addressing a media briefing at the Tourist Board, he stressed that the government will not approve the legalization of abortion or LGBTQ rights within the country. Minister Amaratunga made the revelation in response to recent remarks by the Archbishop of Colombo, Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith, where His Eminence said abortion cannot be considered a human right.
කතෝලික සභාව පමණක් නෙමෙයි.
There is a belief, not just within the Catholic Church, but also with other religious entities, that abortion is wrongful. Abortion destroys human life. It's a violation of natural law. That's why I asked from the Prime Minister yesterday whether the government is planning to legalise abortion. He clearly said the government has not decided anything as such and they won't let it happen either. Maybe doctors might want to legalise these types of things as they want to increase their income. However, as the Christian Religious Affairs Minister, I would like to say that neither the ministry nor the government will accept or approve abortion. Other countries are going through so many problems because of same-sex marriages. Fortunately, Sri Lanka doesn't have these kinds of problems because neither the government nor religious communities will approve it.
ආගමික සභාවල් ඒවා අනුමත කරන්නේත් නැහැ.
With regard to the abortion, it's taken up in the cabinet. How should we defend if there is no majority?
No, it will not come up to cabinet. You see, what has happened is the medical association and those doctors like this type of thing to be approved and legalized and recognized. But it doesn't mean the government will approve that. They are already creating enough trouble in the country and they are trying to put this also and create another chaos. So I don't think that will be tolerated. Let's hope not. But categorically, the church is vehemently opposed to it. That I must say. I mean, maybe the other religious denominations also will not come up with the dissensions. But for us, because I'm telling you, the Christian affairs, it will never approve of it or hear of it, anything like that. But there are things happening behind the screen. My goodness, you see the figures, I can't believe.
A media briefing was convened today by artists and Buddhist clergy to voice concerns over remarks made by Minister of Regional Development Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, who allegedly disgraced Venerable Ale Gunawansa Thera. While requesting the President to remove Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca from his ministerial post, many artists and members of the clergy expressed their views on the matter.
Sarath Fonseca
The disgraceful and degrading statement made by Minister Sarath Fonseca regarding Venerable Ale Gunawansa Thera is not only a disgrace towards the Venerable Thera, but also to the whole Buddha Sasana. The minister's conduct, which is similar to that of an animal, should be condemned.
The individual who made deprecating statements about the Buddha Sasana is in fact the UNP chief organizer of Kalaniya, a location graced by the Lord Buddha. Even if J.R. Jayawarna or Premadasa were to return from the dead for the next presidential election, the UNP would be defeated because of the attack from Kalaniya.
We plead not to disgrace or make references to our clergy in this manner. Decent people should be appointed for ministerial positions. When individuals who do not have common decency get appointed for those positions, it is visible to the nation and it becomes an omen for downfall.
Instead of limiting your respect to the fruit basket or the Atapirikara, I plead and request action over this degrading remark, which is an attack on the Mahasangha.
Leaders of the United National Party arrived at a collective decision to temporarily postpone the 71st anniversary celebrations of the party, which was scheduled to be held this Sunday. Minister of Justice Talathatha Koral said the decision was taken due to the adverse weather conditions that have ailed the nation. With that, let's now take a look at other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
A tipper truck transporting sand collided head-on with a motorbike travelling along the Kurunegala-Kappetigula road today. Two persons who were travelling on the motorbike were admitted to the ICU of the Kurunegala hospital. CCTV captured the driver of the tipper fleeing the scene. A 29-year-old youth died and another was injured following an accident along the Archbishop Nicholas Marcus Fernando Mawatha in Negombo last night. The motorbike they were riding collided with a prison bus. Democratic Unionist Party MP Ian Paisley has referred himself to a parliamentary watchdog over claims he did not declare £100,000 in hospitality from the Sri Lankan government. A newspaper report said the DUP MP and his family took 2 all-expenses-paid holidays to the island in 2013. The Daily Telegraph said he recently met Sri Lankan officials to discuss the possibility of post-Brexit trade deals with Sri Lanka. But the MP said the report was devoid of fact or logic and defamatory. The MP later tweeted an image of a letter from his solicitor denying the claims.
In international news, Hurricane Irma continues to leave a trail of destruction across the Caribbean, with at least 19 people dead and leaving one Italy islands ravaged. With wind speeds dropping to 270 kilometers per hour, Irma has been downgraded to a Category 4 hurricane, but officials warn that it remains extremely dangerous. The Red Cross predicts that as much as 26 million people could be affected.
Hurricane Irma pummeled the Turks and Caicos Islands and is projected to move towards the Bahamas, bringing 6-meter-high storm surges. The storm is predicted to reach Cuba next, before hitting the US state of Florida during the weekend. Hurricane and storm surge warnings have been issued for South Florida, with roads and airports jammed as thousands of people evacuate areas at risk. Bringing further bad news close on the heels of Hurricane Irma, the Caribbean must now brace itself for Category 3 Hurricane Jose, which is due to lash the area tomorrow. Meanwhile, an earthquake, 8.2 in magnitude, struck in the Pacific Ocean off the southern coast of Mexico today, killing at least 33 people and triggering minor tsunami waves along the Mexican coast, with warnings of waves up to 3 meters high. A tsunami warning was also issued for nearby Central American countries as well as New Zealand and the Philippines.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across the world.
US President Donald Trump says he would be willing to mediate the dispute among the US-allied Gulf Arab states and Qatar. He was speaking at a joint news conference at the White House with visiting Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah today.
If we don't solve it, I will be a mediator right here in the White House. We'll come together very quickly.
Australians have handed in nearly 26,000 firearms so far in the nation's first gun amnesty since 1996. Those who are caught in possession of arms after the end of this month would face fines of up to 280,000 Australian dollars and up to 14 years in jail.
On to business now. Discussions pertaining to the tender procedures on importation of laboratory items and medical devices from Pakistan and promotions of Sri Lanka as an information technological destination were among key topics discussed at a business forum organized by the Sri Lanka-Pakistan Business Council held in Colombo recently. Speaking at the forum, Acting High Commissioner of Pakistan, Dr. Shafraz Ahmad Khan Sipra, said that the Pakistan High Commission is ready to extend assistance to strengthen business ties. The president of Sri Lanka-Pakistan Business Council, Rohit Tilakaratne, also discussed the relationship the two countries enjoy and possible opportunities that exist. The meeting saw the participation of members of the Sri Lanka-Pakistan Business Council and the delegates from the Lahore Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Let's take you to the stock market now. Sri Lanka stocks were higher after the close today as gains in the healthcare, information technology and trading sectors led shares higher. At the close in Colombo, the CSE All share added 0.22%. Let's get the full picture of the day's trading, and for that let's cross over to Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
The turnover was 688.05 million rupees with 20.11 million shares changing hands in 3,835 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,891.39 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 353.23 million rupees and foreign sales were 274.48 million rupees.
In order to get a wrap-up of as to how the markets performed, here's Raghuram Ramkrishnan from NDB Securities.
During the week, ASPI lost 0.23%, recording its 8th consecutively weekly loss. This was mainly due to price losses in counters such as Sri Lanka Telecom, John Keel's Holdings and Hemas Holdings. S&P SL20 also lost 0.31% for the week. The average daily turnover was up from last week to 935 million rupees. Manufacturing sector recorded the highest sector turnover during the week, whilst the second highest was seen in banks, finance and insurance sector. Out of the weekly turnover, block trades accounted for 61%, which was higher than the last week.
And also in sports, Sloane Stephens beat fellow American Venus Williams 6-1, 0-6, 7-5 at the US Open in New York yesterday. In the second semi-final, Madison Keys crushed Coco Vandeweghe 6-1, 6-2 to join Stephens, setting the stage for an All-American US Open final that will see a new Grand Slam champion crowned.
Sloane Stephens began confidently and broke for 3-1 when Williams netted a routine forehand and then went on to win the last 3 games of the set as Williams struggled with serve. Williams then dominated the second set to win it to love. In the third, Stephens got back on track and edged Williams out to win the match 6-1, 0-6, 7-5. In the second semi-final, Madison Keys came out well against the fellow power hitter and broke Coco Vandeweghe twice as she stormed to a 6-1 victory in the first set. Despite a medical timeout, Keys closed out the match with an ace on the first match point to complete a 6-1, 6-2 win.
Let us now cross over to Katharina Chang at the Other Derana Weather Centre with the latest on the weather.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, the build-up of the low-pressure zone in the vicinity of Sri Lanka is expected to reduce by tomorrow. Meanwhile, temperatures are expected to range between a mild 20 and 28 degrees Celsius, while wet weather is expected to continue in most parts of the island. Now, if you look at the map, we can expect some thunder showers in the Trincomalee area as well as in the Jaffna and Anuradhapura areas. Further down, we can expect some wet weather once again in Colombo, Galle, Matra over the course of 24 hours. It's now time to take a look at your city-by-city forecast.
Well, it's not just humans that suffer during a storm as catastrophic as Hurricane Harvey or Irma. During Hurricane Katrina in 2005, more than 600,000 animals were killed or was abandoned. Tonight on our Good Story of the Week segment, we hear from Dr. Mary Mattia of the Austin Pets Alive Animal Rescue Service as we take a look at how animal rescue workers are working around the clock in Texas, USA to ensure that pets, which we do dearly love, do not get left behind during a natural disaster like the one that just tore across Texas, Hurricane Harvey.
In crisis situations like this, especially for natural disasters, there's a lot that can happen with the pets in people's lives. First, any animal that's astray and is alone on the street, they don't have anywhere to go and anyone to watch out for them. Second, some people try to evacuate with their animals, and not all evacuation centers or shelters will allow people to take pets in with them.
It's almost over. You're doing so well, I know.
We're seeing some people who weren't able to evacuate in time and they're having to leave their animals behind. And that's, a terrifying situation for anyone who loves an animal or who has pets. We have 430 who have been emergency evacuated from the area. More are coming in every day. We have another 50 to 100 expected over the next 24 hours.